Okay. Hello, friends. Um, Golly, do you guys want to look at me tonight or not? What do you want? You want me on the camera or not? Let me know. It probably doesn't matter, but okay. So the purpose tonight is really just to kind of recap what's gone on the last couple days because it's been a busy time. There have been other completely unrelated business matters I've had to attend to, and but yet I've made some good progress on the show. So what the heck? Let's take a look. So if you're visiting, if you're one of my concurrent viewers, please say hello in the chat. Let your presence be known. I should say that I have my martini in hand. My martini in hand, which my late father-in-law taught me years ago to enjoy. He was unfortunately a victim of COVID at the age of, golly, what was he, like 86 or something? I don't know. He was up there. A wonderful guy, and we used to get together and have martinis. So I like them. I don't prefer them on the rocks. I don't actually put ice in my martini. So it's just gin, no vermouth. Gin, little bit of olive juice, so you'd call it a dirty martini. Typically one olive, maybe two. And that's it. Just gin, olive juice, and the olive. I like it. I like it muy mucho. Okay, so let's just take a peek at what's been going on. This is the last few scenes. Mostly we've been anchored in Blender, certainly through this entire sequence. Good news is it looks like the show is up to 11 minutes and about 40 seconds. So we're just about halfway through episode 3. So this is the current shot coming up right now, which was a weird hybrid situation between Blender and Krita. Oh, I saw a glitch right there that I need to correct. I think the shadows are a little hokey, for sure. There's like that right there. So there's definitely a few issues that need to still be addressed in the most recent shot, but that's the crux of what's been going down. So basically all of this, let's see, what do we have? I guess pretty much that. Yeah, about 30 seconds in the last 4 or 5 days. Not great in terms of time, but we are still going through a certain amount of figuring out the workflow here on episode 3. So anyway, the most recent shot, what I actually was doing is doing most of it in Blender and got to this point, and as you can see, we had this camera move, and I have to admit the camera move got completely chopped out of the scene. And so there's a lesson there, and the lesson is usually I found this was true in regular live action filmmaking as well, is that when in doubt, keep it simple. Simple, locked. In fact, I remember the biggest improvement that happened in my filmmaking from a cinematography standpoint was when I was making a movie and resolved that on this film, every single shot will be a locked camera. In other words, it's not going to be handheld. I'm not going to do any zooming or panning. There's a little bit of panning on a tripod, but basically just locked shots. So it's an aesthetic much more similar to what you would have seen, say, in the 1950s and 60s, when the cameras weighed 400 pounds, you know, in the days of cinescope epics, you know, like the Ten Commandments and stuff like that. My martini, delicious. Yeah, they would tend to be, the locked camera became an aesthetic. It became a look. It became a well, I guess aesthetic's a good word, but it wasn't born of a desire to achieve any kind of aesthetic. It was born of necessity. because as I say, if the camera weighs 400 pounds, you can't go doing handheld. So anyway, what happened was this would be the trickiest thing to do, because if you're not going to do the full backgrounds and everything, now you're into animating keyframes to sort of match the camera move, which would be nightmarish. So anyway, I was prepared for maybe some of that. Some of the interesting things that did come up along the way. One would be the berries were going to be a particle system, and in fact, I did use them that way. I did. Let me double check here. Right here, it only survived a moment in the actual scene, right there. So I did the particle system actually 2 ways, and that was one of the reasons I did it this way, is because I wanted to use this scene as an opportunity to give myself a little refresher on Blender particle systems. Okay, so now the following opinion is going to be a little controversial, which was that I actually wound up using Blender 2.79 again for the particle system. I'll tell you why. It basically boils down to, if you look at pre-Blender 2.8 particle systems, going all the way back to the late 1990s, there was a way that they worked that I won't even try to explain, but for me it was pretty intuitive, and I watched particle systems evolve as a thing in Blender. So we're going back to the days of dupliverts and all that. If you know what a duplavert is, you are a definite Blender fanatic going back many, 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 many years. Anyway, long story short is that once you get to 2.8, the whole approach and housekeeping associated with getting a particle system up and running is kind of, it's more powerful, but it's also kind of a lot more work. And I just found that this was more straightforward. I just put the geometry up on the screen and then went over to the particle system properties, and it was just really quick to set up, frankly. I mean, it just was. And I won't even get into all the settings, but in Blender 2.79, that's how it worked. You got an object, you got an emitter, and then you go to the particle panel and brrr, you're done. And the other thing is, from the standpoint of the material, like what material will these particles use? I have never actually gotten on board with the Blender node-based materials, if you can believe that. So yeah, I'm 10, 15 years behind, but yet this works. You know, setting up the outlines, almost not a toon rendering, but pretty close to it. It was really quick and easy to do. Whereas meanwhile, I was kind of struggling with Blender 2.93, trying to accomplish the same thing. Well, just for completeness, I did it 2 ways. Let me look here. Okay, this would be the last scene I did. I need to pull this up. Where the heck is the... Because I did the particle system in Tahoma as well, and I think what I did was I put it in the... Is it 377? Yes, there we go. Okay, so in case you're wondering, if you're like an OpenToonz or a Tahoma person, and you're like, wait a minute, how do you do... I didn't know you could do particle systems in OpenToonz or Tahoma. Yeah, actually, it's not only... You not only can do it, it's pretty much brain dead. Hey, Max Power. Hey, Ross. Mr. Planet. Right. Right. Okay, you're not going to believe how stupidly simple this is, actually. You do have to fiddle with the settings. There's no question about that. But all I did was draw one little cherry. That's it. Then what you do is you go into the effects schematic and you just pipe your drawing of a cherry into a particle system. That's it. Well, okay, it's not that simple because you got to pop this open and look at the source, the birth parameters of the particles, how often are they born. As you can see, I added a little bit of a speed angle so they spread out as they fall. You can add forces like gravity and wind. So play around with it. There's a bunch of different particle systems, but they're they're essentially just customizations of the general particle system. So if you're wondering where this is in the schematic, it would be under normally you'd be adding an effect. Since there's one already there, I'm using replace effects, but it's the same thing. And you basically go down here to render. Under render, all the particle options are there. So if you want falling leaves or snow falling from the sky, play around with it, have fun, rock and roll. And upshot of the story is that this was pretty easy to create. So then I had the choice. Well, do I use the Blender version or do I use the Tahoma system or the Tahoma version? I think I use the particle system. Gosh, I don't even know which one I use. Looking at this, I'm going to say I use the. That looks like what came out of Tahoma. So, yeah, I thought it'd be kind of fun. He's like, hey, look what I found. We got berries. Isn't this great? And Monkey pukes his berries into the pile because he's been helping Luca collect them, and of course that causes this reaction from the other two. I'm not sure I'm into berries, and she's like, finally we agree on something, and then Luca's like, oh, you're missing out. So this was kind of fun. I guess I should show this. What was fun was. In fact, this I should definitely load up and show. This is pretty funny. Because I really wanted to kind of run with just an anime approach. So, I said, let's use Tahoma just to shake things up. I've been in Blender and Krita all this week. Let's shake it up and rock and roll with Tahoma just to keep the line taut, so to speak. Well, I ran into a problem right away because I was using this brush right here, my ink brush, which is a My Paint brush. And when I inked him with the My Paint brush, I had an issue where when I went into render mode or preview mode, whatever you want to call it, you'd get these weird lines that were skating across the screen. I loaded it up I'm actually in Tahoma 1.4 now again, as a matter of fact, but I went from 1.5 to 1.4 to see if the problem persisted, and it did. So darn it all, I had to re-ink Luca, which I did with a standard Tahoma brush, which would have been this one, just a plain old brush, no My Paint brush. So if you're going to draw a conclusion from that, it would be the My Paint brushes are great for doing the pencil test. Let me see here if I can take this off. Oh, I guess I actually did delete the pencil test, so never mind. But anyway, it's fine for the pencil test, but for ink it does seem a little more reliable to use the standard OpenToonz or Tahoma brushes. Okay, so that's what the pencil tests look like. I literally was like, what's the least I can do here? Well, it'd be 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 2 poses. That's it. And then what I did was in between the 2 poses, I had his mouth go like this. And I looped it. I just looped it. It's like that. Well, then, of course, I've got this. I added all the smattering cherry juice everywhere, but that's the whole shot. And then what I did, sorry, I'm in the wrong screen. I know there's probably somebody screaming at the screen right now. Yeah, Tom doing our, oh my God. It figures Tom shows up just in time to see me do what I always do. Okay. That's so funny. I swear, every time I say, I'm never going to switch screens ever again. Right? Let me look at this one. Yeah, okay, so, I mean, I was kind of off for like 2 minutes or something. So, sorry about that, Tom. God, you do keep me honest. I'll give you that. So, anyway, back to Tahoma. Sorry. I won't switch screens again today. If you see... well, actually, I'm going to switch screens right now, but I'm going to leave OBS up on my other screen so I'll remember to switch back. So here's what I did. I said, let's take the loop and then run it faster and then even faster. Right? And then these two are like, oh my gosh. Okay, so switching screens again. Switching screens. Okay, no more screen switching now. That's funny. It just goes to show, friends, Let me tell you what. This is what it goes to show. It goes to show that you can really, really suck. Um, you can suck as bad as me and still get some fairly cool work done. So that's encouraging, right? Right? So we'll go with that. Okay, so then what I did was came back over here to Krita. Yeah, I think what I did actually, you got to realize that the long shot is it 78 or is it 77? Let me look here. It's 77, so it's this one. Okay, so in practice, here's what really happened. I brought the line art into Krita, and I actually did the ink and paint here. And then this is where, as you can see, I just cut the camera move out and added the bleh. And then there's a few things like gradients and whatnot that just make everything look prettier. I guess I should mention the background, because actually I decided, all right, I'm going to hand paint the background for this shot. So I did that, and then I did a little more detailed one. And then I switched back to the other backgrounds that I was using, which essentially were derived from AI generated images, but of course painted over to sort of customize them to what I needed. So anyway, wound up taking the poses from this shot, mainly this one. And okay, so if there's any questions from the peanut gallery, this would be the time to ask them. We appreciate you sharing your work sessions with us. No, I know I don't suck, Max. I appreciate that. I mean, I know I don't suck, but in many ways I do. In many ways I do. If I were to quantify the number of mistakes I make in a given day, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I literally never get anything right on the first try. Everything I do. If I have to fix the sink, I'm going to be fixing the sink twice. I've just come to accept it as a fact of life that, and I think it's a valuable lesson. And the reason it's a valuable lesson for you guys as fledgling animators, let me get to your question here in a minute, Max. The reason it's valuable to fledgling animators is because I want to say to you, please understand, it's very tempting to give a lot of time and energy, months, and even years of your life to exploring tools like AI tools, for example, looking for the tool that's going to somehow make it easy or give you the confidence that you're going to be getting it right out of the gate, when in fact that's impossible, because the only way that you know all the ways that you suck is by making mistakes. So you have to, so in other words, I hold at this point in life that there's literally no way to know how to do something right without just diving in, just rock and roll, do it, make all the mistakes, and then you adjust. You know, you just make changes and adjust to compensate for the things you learn. And the key point is you could not possibly have known all the gotchas in advance. You just can't know. And it's very true. A lot of you guys out there like Tom or Darren T are obviously coders. If you're dealing with programming, which of course I've done a lot of as well, you realize that coding a large project is very much like making a movie or making a cartoon. There is a lot of stuff you have to keep track of, and ultimately a lot of stuff you have to master. There is no shortcut for that. There's literally no shortcut. You just have to do it and do it and do it and do it and do it. And that's a beautiful thing. That's not a bad thing. Okay, end of lecture. So, we got this shot done. And then I came over here and said, well, I need a reaction shot to Luca gobbling up the, gobbling up the cherries. And that's it. That brings us up to date. So, in the last, I'm just looking at the show. I'm just looking at the show here. Let's see. That was when, see, this was when I really started diving back into with Blender. So, my goodness, I'm actually kind of shocked. So I'm thinking this is going back right here, must be about 3 weeks. About 3 weeks ago. In 3 weeks, not great. Not great, but not bad. Like in compared to what most people would expect, it's amazing. Okay, I've done almost I've done 4.5 minutes of show in 3 weeks. So, you know, it's to me it's not satisfactory, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good. So, where do we go from here? Well, I'm going to turn this preview off and check the comments. That partial animation is only on the screen for a couple of seconds. Maybe doing it by hand would have been faster. You talking about the particle system? You're correct. I actually think so. If I hadn't initially, what was supposed to happen was as the camera tilted down, you saw the cherries falling, and then Monkey comes in over top of that and spits out those monkeys. So yes, ultimately, did I even need the particle system? Probably not. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? There's something I've had on my mind lately that I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate right now. And we're going to figure out by pluck and by luck how to do it as we go. You're like, what the heck are you even talking about? Let me show you something interesting here. I was watching one of these sort of Asian dramas that Valerie and I like to watch. And I was thinking about the ornate, gosh, all the interiors and the furniture. It's like there's all this really wild, decoration on it. A lot of it's like gold and, I don't know, probably bronze or something. And some of it may, in fact, be CGI because they do use a lot of virtual backgrounds. But anyway, I was thinking about something here in Krita, about using clone layers for something like that. And I'm going to actually think this through right now in real time, just because it's kind of interesting to me. So here's the idea. The idea is there a way to draw just any shape like this and instantly turn it into a texture that looks like the sort of decorative stuff I'm talking about? And I think there is. The way would be something like this. You would use a clone layer. Okay, so you take the clone layer. Okay, and this is important to understand. I'm going to actually add a transform mask to this clone layer. Okay, so stay with me. I'm going to take this clone layer and go like this. Okay, but then what I'm going to do is take the clone layer and alpha lock it. Now this clone layer, I'm going to try, let's try overlay mode and see what happens. Nah, I don't like that. It probably needs to take color out, not add it. Let's try multiply. Multiply could be okay. So now this is quite interesting because what it means now is by having the clone layer that's got the transform on it, and this is obviously, you could get as complicated as you want to get, but watch this. See that? Didn't know you could do that in Krita, did you? And now you could make it even more complex by adding another clone layer. So let's add a clone layer. And this one, we're going to also use a transform mask to shift it this way. But then what we're going to do is for this one, we're going to also add a filter mask, which is going to be a blur. Boom. And then we're going to add another filter mask that's going to be curves. Why? Ta-da, instant shadow. Right? So what's interesting about that type of an approach in Krita is that, you know, you could, I could make this even more complicated, actually. Let me think about how you would do this. This is going to be tricky. I'm going to call this, I'm just going to call this main, so we know what the main thingy dingy is. Okay, so, okay, so you get the idea. And all different colors, and you could, obviously you could change the blending modes so that instead of, what did I use? Did I use multiply? Yeah. I mean, you could use subtract probably, or I don't know, let's try divide. See what that does. Oh, that makes it even lighter. Okay, so let's try subtract. Actually, I don't have subtract on here, so. Burn. Burn's not bad. Burn's not bad. Anyway, you can experiment on your own. Boop. So you can't paint into the clone layers. They're only going to be affected by this one layer. So what I was thinking was this. How would we get a shaded area here? Okay. I'm just thinking here, folks. This is a good brain exercise. What you'd have to do is add yet another clone layer. And this one also needs a transform mask. This is the part where it's going to get confusing. I think what I need to do is take this and put this in its own subgroup. Okay. So then this would be that. And this, okay. The problem is that doesn't make it darker. So I'm going to leave that to you guys. Figure out what the mathematics would have to be. If you're going to move this, you know, to kind of free up this, I know what you'd have to do. I know what you'd have to do. Yes, I know what to do. I think I know what to do anyway. What you would do is yet another clone layer. You put this one up in this group. And this would become an erase layer. And then this would have a filter mask to make it darker. And see, now you're getting into how would you, if you wanted to craft your own like rim light effect like you've seen in some of these shots, which by the way, I should probably, come to think of it, it wouldn't be a bad idea to go, especially that shot right there, it wouldn't be a bad idea to go in and add a rim light effect. But the fun thing about this type of thing is that, again, you can just, you know, pick your color and it all just happens automatically. Pretty slick. Pretty slick. So, fun with clone layers. Okay, so Max asked the, well, the $5 billion question. Tom fixed his dryer. You know, good for you, man. I bought a gas dryer a few years ago at a home auction, and you know, hooked it up myself. Some stuff takes more time than planned. Yeah, it almost always does. The partial animation is only on the screen for a couple of seconds. Maybe doing it by hand would have been faster. Well, yeah, so I addressed that. That's right. It probably would have been, you know. So if you're bored and you have nothing to do, you can set up something like this and just play around with it because it's like 3D confetti. Whee! Okay. It just doesn't take much to make me happy on some days, I guess. So that's the end of that. Yeah. Now, actually, let me check one thing here. Now that I'm thinking about it, I wonder. I'm not going to go any further with the rim light thing tonight, just because I don't feel like it. But I wonder if the layer styles includes that. I've never. Inner glow. Let's see what inner glow does. Well, maybe. Maybe. You would have to offset it somewhat. Noise. I mean, you can add noise, but it doesn't really make much difference. Do we have a way to offset this? Choke. Choke might be good. Let's see what choke does. Okay, it just tightens it up. Size. So let me just think here. Oh, hey, Tom. Max has to go. Okay, see you, Max. But yeah, to answer your question, I could have animated it pretty quickly. Contour, softer edge, center. Let's see what that does. Okay, now that's interesting. I mean, obviously you could take a layer, again, make a clone layer, make it completely white, and then use an offset clone layer that's black, but alpha lock to it, so that all you actually see is this outside edge, and then overlay that combination over top of this, and you'd have a rim light effect, right? So this is not going to be working because this is going to be outside of her. That doesn't work. Inner shadow. It seems to me there was. Yep, that's it. That's it. I found it. It's actually inner shadow. What you do is you make it white instead of black, and obviously you can't be in multiply mode because white is all values of 1, black is all values of 0. 1 times any number is the original number, therefore multiply mode definitely does not work. Let's just go with either overlay or addition. Okay, overlay doesn't want to work. Well, okay. Look at that. Guys. What happens if we add noise? Maximum noise. Okay, that doesn't help. So size, probably about 10 pixels. And how much? Okay, choke. We need to choke it maximally. Okay, yeah. Now we'll choke it a little less. Just a little bit of a soft edge. And then just start cranking down that, like so. And then we can just dial in the opacity. Okay, so for those who are wondering, is there a way to do a rim light effect in Krita? Guess what? There is. Especially because look what you can do here. You can change the angle of it. Look at that. So the answer is this: inner shadow. Inner shadow. That is super cool. In fact, you know what? I'm actually gonna just do it. I'm gonna just do it. I'm gonna add it right now and re-render this shot because, you know, just seemed like a fun thing to do. Okay, so now I'm gonna save as rim light. Yes, I'm gonna save that as rim light, and then I'm gonna go over here to Mel, and I'm gonna add one to him as well. Why not? So styles. Where's the? Oh, maybe I have to go to inner shadow first, and then where do I access the preset styles? Aha. Okay, I double click it. Let me turn this off for half a second. And okay, so what do? Double click it. Okay, that turned on inner shadow, so it should be correct. It is. Look at that. Slick! Guys, that's pretty cool. Now that is going to slow down your render time. Let me go ahead and... Okay, now that's not cool. Why did that happen? Okay, this could be bad news in the sense that this might be... As you guys know, Krita can be as buggy as a picnic. Let me check one thing here. Okay, so I don't see any animation. Opacity. Why in the world would it turn off? I just kind of have to think that's a bug. Okay, so let's go to frame 8. Okay, now it's working. Now it's working. Okay. Okay. So this is one of those Krita things. Yeah, I know it's ridiculous, but you get used to it. As long as it doesn't make me lose work and stuff in the sense that it's crashing in the middle of something and I lose all my work, I can deal with a certain amount of very strange buggy behavior. The question is, how's it going to render? Let's find out. Let's just go for it and see what happens. My suspicion is it's going to be okay. So here's hoping. Let's go back to the show and see if it is okay. Yep, I was right. Okay, cool. That's really, really good. That's super cool. So now you say, well, wait, what about the Tahoma shot? I'm going to save that. Boy, I'm really kind of stoked that I found a way to do a simple rim light in Krita, because I've been kind of thinking about that as being something I wanted to figure out. That's super cool. Okay. So now this was done here. So what we have to do here is we've got to go into the effects schematic. This is layer WE. And I have to remember what the effect is. I'm looking for, I think it's a light effect. Actually, you know what? Macro. Dave's Bloom. Nope, neither one of those are the right one. So I know it's ridiculous that I have to sit here and look for it, but I haven't done it in Tahoma for quite a long time. It seems to me it's body highlight. I believe that's what it is. Let's turn this on. Hello. And see. Yep, that's what we wanted. Okay, and then we need to go in and just tweak the settings a bit. Well, actually, 22, let's make this like 14. Yes, and then this should be a little more, I don't know, let's go like 10. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, because the light is kind of coming from that direction. Let me look at this again and make sure. So we need to add the rim lights to that shot too. But if the rim light's coming from their right, it would be kind of behind him. It would be more like that. Okay, the blur. Let's tamp down the blur. And I think I'm going to violate the laws of physics here and actually, let's see if we can pick up yes, oh golly, a little bit here. I'm actually going to violate the laws of physics and say hello. I thought I typed in a 4. Didn't seem to make much of a change. Oop, oop, oop. My woman's giving me a kiss on the neck. Night, baby. I love her magical touches. Okay, the blur should... Oh, I see what I did wrong. I am stupid. Yeah, this should actually be about 4. I'm doing the wrong thing. What I meant to be doing was this. So let's do -3. Yes. There we go. Okay, and then color-wise, I don't mind white, but I think it needs to be a little more transparent. Actually, let's do this. It is supposed to be early morning. So let's go ahead and add a yellow cast to it. I like that. I like that. Save our work. And then, while we're here, let's do the thing. I'm going to move this off screen. Oh, well, actually, I'll show you what we're going to do. Let's add a raster level. Boom. Okay. Raster level is added. Okay. Save your work. Save early, save often. And what we're going to do is the raster level is BB. We talked about this the other day. I figured I'll just go ahead and do it. Okay. And what we're doing is we're going to insert layer blending INO, which is going to be overlay mode. And I believe the foreground would actually be this, and the background would be this. Then this, of course, can be deleted. Okay, what did that do for me? Well, actually, there's one more thing we need to do. And I'm going to do it without even seeing what the art's going to look like. So this is that layer I just created. Before I do anything else, I'm going to add a 200 pixel blur. Not 45 pixels, 200 pixels. Okay, why did I do that? Okay, because now this, whatever I paint in this layer is going to be composited over top of Luca. It's not going to affect the background. I may change my mind and want it to affect the background, but for now, it's just going to affect the character. Okay, so what am I trying to do? I'm going to go, I need my airbrush, so let's just pick one of these, and we'll go to raster setting. These are my paint brushes, of course. Where the heck is it? I'm looking for the... There's a number of them you could use, especially because it's being blurred, but let's just go with the plain old airbrush. Okay, so we have an airbrush, B key. You can see roughly how big the airbrush is. I'm going to make it, like, really big. Yeah, that's too big. Something like that. Okay, color-wise, what we want is... Okay. And now I'm going to just go across the color wheel to here and add a little bit of blue. Okay. So you can see what that did. It's a little extreme though, isn't it? So it is extreme. So let's go F3, and what we want to do, sorry, not the blur, but the overlay. The opacity of it, watch this. This will, if we're not in preview mode, we're just going to see what we painted. But if we go into preview mode, we can see what's going to render. So what we're going to do is just, well, let's just split the difference here and find it. Okay, that'll work. So I just turned the opacity down, right? Okay, to which you say, hey Dave, as long as you're here, what about the shadows? Okay, that's an interesting question. Why are the shadows not showing up now? Wait a minute. That could be a problem. That could be a problem. So this is a bit unfortunate, but it's a quirk of Tahoma. It's not really a bug, but it is a quirk. I'm gonna take a chance here and say, if I actually, okay, let me explain something here. In Tahoma or OpenToonz, the columns that are the furthest to the right are composited over top of the columns that are to the left. Hence, the background is furthest to the left. However, you can override that through the schematic. You can completely override it. So what we're seeing here is something that kind of looks like a bug, but it's a manifestation of the fact that Tahoma does at times get a little confused over whether you want us to follow this stacking order for compositing purposes or this. Well, this, if it's just over Luca but not over the shadows, look what happened. Look at that. You see? Okay, so something about compositing from this from way over here over top of this corrupted the way the layers in between interpret it. So my fix just worked. I mean, I was kind of lucky, but basically, so I want this to be composited through the schematic, as just demonstrated. And then this stuff I just want to be composited the old way, which is take whatever you did through the schematic here, and then these are composited over top of it. Got it? Okay. So now I believe what I want is control. Well, I should probably save my work. When in doubt, save your work. Okay. And let's render it. Boy, that was quick, wasn't it? Let's go back to the show. And if this looks good, ooh, what was that? Why did we, wow, why is it flashing back and forth? That has the overlay on, that has the overlay off. Okay, I have a, in this case, normally I would not do this, but in this case, I actually think, you know what the fix is? The fix is delete, delete, delete. You know why? Honestly, as I'm seeing it flash between the two on the screen, I actually like it without the overlay gradients anyway. So, pure coincidence that it turned out that way, but there it is. So, very good. So now, pardon me, friends. I'm loving that there's lighting gradients on the bodies. It's really simple too to do. Yep, it is. Most of it's pretty quick. Sorry, I'm eating my olive from my martini. Awkward penguin. Oh, the stream's going good. I haven't really been ranting. We bumped into a couple hiccups, but I want to go back to 77 now and add the rim light. Just because I can. And it's going to be right here. Let's give it a try. So what did we say? Rim light, and then go in here, and I'm just going to assume, there you go. I'm just going to re-render it. This is 77. If it's that quick to do, come on. Now there is still one thing in this sequence through here that I really do need to fix, which is the shadows around her hair. But, whoop-de-doo. Let's just take a look. Okay, now we don't have a rim light there, but then again, we do have the shadow and the gradient, and I think we're kind of getting away with it on this one because the shadows are so harsh. But there we go. I'm completely satisfied with that rim light. That looks really good. Yeah. What are you going to do? All right, let's look at a couple things here. This is a really long scene, by the way. And, okay. So I'm not totally loving the rim light on Mel's silhouette. So here's what I'm going to do. Watch this. First of all, let's get to the right layer. Okay, it's the layer called Kids, because I basically stuck all the characters in a single character. Watch what we're going to do. I am going to take, I'm going to take the S key to make a selection, and I'm going to select this. Now remember, okay, his hair and Luca are all in one layer. Everything else is in other layers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a quirk of Krita to my advantage, which is that unlike most programs, if I cut from a layer and then paste back in, Krita will paste into a new layer. Now on that layer, I'm going to remove the rim light. Okay? So this would be, we'll just call it what it is. This is Melchizedek's hair. Okay? Then all we have to do is go to where we no longer need to see the hair, which is probably here. Yep. Take it here and insert a keyframe. Now what we have to do is go back here to the layer called kids. I'm sorry, I said I hit tab. I did not mean to hit tab. Why is it going forward when I hit tab? Now it's doing what it's supposed to do. That was kind of weird. Okay, so I meant to hit tilde. Here's why. Now I'm going to grab a selection like this, where his hair was, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through. Nope, I didn't get it. Darn it. Shift, grab a bigger selection. Okay, so all I'm going to do is hit delete, go forward one frame, delete. Go to the next keyframe. You can see down here we got to get to the keyframes. Delete, 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 delete. Just get the hair out of this layer. And to the astute observer, there may be an easier way to do what I just did. But basically all I did was transfer the hair into its own layer. And we better save our work. Right? So let the animation cache fill up. And there. Perfect. So now we don't have that weird glowing, icky, nasty thing going on. All right. What do we have here? Right there. Poof. What the heck am I seeing? I don't know. Now, actually, this is where I should take Darren T's advice. Darren taught me some time ago that if I'm confused, hit the R key, hold the R down, and then click somewhere. And boop, that's how you isolate the layers. So there's something that you don't know where it's coming from or whatever. Okay. Here, this is in the mouth layer. So that means that there was a mouth here for Luca, that when we got to this frame and it switched shots, I forgot to insert a blank keyframe. Okay, so now that's solved. Obviously, I would not be dealing with any of that stuff if I was adhering to my own preferred methodology, which is to, I should say, through most of the life of this show, I've generally put one shot in one Krita file, or one shot in one Blender file, or whatever. I just do one shot at a time, right? This obviously has what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shots. Okay, so now we've got a little problem here with the mouth again. Mouth, right there. The reason we have the problem, I will tell you, is because here's Tianara's mouth. Excuse me. And in each of these frames, Mel is talking. Okay? So both of their mouths are in the same shot, so I need to repeat Tianara's through these frames right here. Here's how we do it. There's her mouth. We again hit the S key, make a selection, Control C, but now I go Control Shift V. Control Shift V. And Control Shift V pastes whatever I cut back into the same layer, more the way most programs work. Okay? Now, right here is that one issue I mentioned earlier. So, got to wait for the animation cache to fill. Come on, Krita. You can do it, baby. You can do it. 1. Okay. There it is. Okay, we want to be on this layer right here. Yep, right there. Okay. B key, let's use the Conan brush, make it black. And right here is the issue. I'm going to hit erase. Stop everything. Okay, we have a major problem that's completely ridiculous to have. Very ridiculous problem to have. But we know how to solve it. So here's what's going on. If you're confused, trust me, there are times when I probably would have been too. What's going on here is that the transparency in the shadow layer is baked into the shadow layer. So we have 100% opacity, yet they're still transparent. How do we fix that? Here's how we fix it. Grab all. In fact, let's grab the last one last. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go in here, and we're going to go to the alpha. I think this is what I want. No, that's not what I want to do. Okay, let me just double check. Let me think about this for a minute. I should know this. Okay, that did it. Okay, see that line right there? Okay. So we need to go like that. Multi-frame. So it's going to do this to every single keyframe. All of these are going to have this curve applied. Done. Now we can take the whole layer and just turn it down. Okay? And how did that help us? Well, now we don't have to try the basically impossible task of trying to make the opacity of what I'm painting match, you know, what was there before. That would obviously be a bit of a bear. Now, having said that, there is one thing we do need to pay attention to, which is putting a little bit of a soft blur on it, because the whole shadow layer was blurred. Okay, so B key, erase, E for erase. Back to the Conan brush, B key. Just put that in there. And then we're doing a bit of a kludge by just using this blur brush, and that did not work. I'm going to turn the opacity of it way down and the size down too, because I need to just get the tiniest edge of softness on there. Okay, cool. Save your work and render. Poof. And then I need to check the other scene to see if it has a similar issue. By the way, let me look at the shadow layer in isolation for a minute. Okay, you'll notice this is solid, and yet you got these sort of speckles appearing in the clothing. I don't know, but I suspect this is an artifact of the layer effect. It is. Look at that. It's an artifact of the layer effect. I'm not going to worry about it. A little bit of noise or whatever that adds a little bit of variety to the shot basically doesn't hurt anything, so we're going to leave it in there. I'm not going to fight with that. So all we need to do is render that, then go to, I believe it would be 79, check her hair, make sure her hair isn't goofy there as well, and then we will be, I would say, probably done for tonight, I think. Is it 79? I believe it's 79. Okay, her hair looks fine there. And yep, it's screwed up. Okay, cool. Well, not cool, but you get my point. Okay, so here's his shadow, and her shadow does have this same problem. So I'm gonna go like this. Control M. We're affecting the alpha channel. Doo-doo. Fully opaque. And then we can turn this down, just like we did on Melchizidek. Ta-da. And with that, we have the ability to go 1, 2, B key. I guess switch back to the Conan brush, right? Zoom in. E for erase. Hit the E key to erase. Paint this on. We'll come back and catch the Ooh. Okay. Interesting. Okay, all that changed here was her eyes. So why am I going to even have that keyframe in there? I guess I'm not, am I? Okay, so now what we want to do is hit the B key to go back to brushes, and we want the blur brush. We want to turn it down nice and small because we just, come on. Hate when I do that. Okay. Just put a little edge on it. Just a little soft. Okay, there. Close enough. Save your work. Render. Poof. Cool beans. I'm loving this lighting. Oh wait, that's an old comment. 6:17. That's like 20 minutes ago, man. 20 minutes. Okay, let's see what we've got. So we're gonna go here. Okay, that's it. That's it for me. I'm done. It is 6:30 and I'm ready to wrap. I just wanted to live stream to kind of bring everybody up to date on what's been going on. Made good progress this week. Not happy. Not happy yet. Not satisfied, but yeah, I'm reasonably satisfied, you know? Making good progress. Save all. And I would say that probably going forward, it's still pretty much Blender that's carrying the day. So you have a good day too, Awkward Penguin. Here's a big see ya. And as you guys know, there will be more later.